bodies. And just the episode's going to start with me explaining the horrible history of early gynecological history. Where it's just like, yeah, no, doctors just to put black women in an attic and just cut them open repeatedly, and like with no anesthetics. They had anesthetics, they just didn't use them. Because black people don't feel pain, apparently.
Damn, that's an intro.
Yeah,
Hi,
right?
and welcome to Blank Bodies, a Vampire the Masquerade D5 tabletop and horror podcast.
Happy Black History Month. These are terrible things about history we need to learn so we can understand and improve our society and support our neighbors.
Yes.
Yes.
But fuck.
Fuck! Yeah, hi. So welcome to Tremere War Crimes episode.
That's a good intro to this, actually.
Before we get too deep, I'm your host, Hunter. And as always, I'm joined by...
John.
Sarah.
And the Lorebot.
James.
Fuck! Okay, I was joking before he hit the record button because I was talking about like how chainsaws were invented to help doctors help with birthing instead of doing a cesarean section.
I don't think that you made this air quotes big enough with the word help.
Yeah.
I
mean, it would get the baby out.
I also didn't hit record until you mentioned me hitting the record
Well, you were
button.
staring at me ominously like you had hit the button serendipitously and were just like waiting for me to shut up. So you could do the intro, and then I outed myself, and then he did it anyways, like a good storyteller.
Here we are.
Yeah.
If you have players that are full of anxiety, they will tell you what their worst fear is in game, and then you can weaponize it. I know, this happens to me all the time. This is why I'm a fun player. I will just give you the plot, because I'm scared.
I need to work on that. I've been realizing lately that I'm so used to being the storyteller that I also sometimes just sit and wait for other players to do anything. And then I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, I'll
help. And then it's like, wait a minute, I can make decisions too. I think the least is when I played a child recently in a Deadlands game, so I just get bored and wander off like, no, a kid wouldn't care about what you're talking about. I'm gonna go dig in this barrel.
Okay.
Oh, I found human meat in the barrel. Cool.
That's not fun.
Let's be real, that was probably one of your best characters.
Little Jimmy, I miss little Jimmy. He might have to come back. I almost brought him back for this game we're playing now, but...
Then it would have just been like Jimmy and Denim again.
It's like the exact opposite character of who I'm playing now, who's just like an old man doctor, who's like has an excuse to not be like super rambunctious because he's an old man doctor.
Yeah. Well, speaking of old men doctors, so there's a big meme, a big meta within the Vampire the Masquerade community, which is fuck the Tremere. Regardless of what's going on, the Tremere can go fuck themselves.
Fuck the Tremere.
Yeah, it's not really a meme as much as like a historical fact.
Yeah, it's just, and some people are like, why? Especially given, with the OGL fuckeries, we're starting to get some baby beans into World of Darkness stuff because they don't want to give money to WotC, and I'm like, that's a good choice.
Yeah,
I know.
You shouldn't have been doing that the whole time, but, here we are. Time to start explaining that shit, because the fans voted, and now we're going to be doing a Tremere Deep Dive.
Yeah, so if you're new from our How to Get Into Vampire episode, we've been doing deep dives on all of the clans, and our listeners get to vote. We do a Patreon poll, and they pick who goes forward to a Twitter poll. Where the list is getting so slow, that might just become a Patreon exclusive. But this is a preemptive episode for the Tremere, which is really cool, and it has some really good setup for the clans and some history of the world. But if this is like your second episode listening, I would definitely recommend going back and listen to our Vampire History 101 and 201 episodes, and maybe some of the other clan episodes first, because this one is probably going to get the most wonky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a little 200 level, I guess, class, to explain that in my elitist academic ways, as I am wont to do. So, we decided, by we, I mean mostly me. I'm getting to it.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Spicy robot.
Yeah.
Decided that, hey, so there's some things that the Tremere have done that are super fucked up. We should talk about it. But if we talked about it within the confines of the normal clan deep dive, the whole episode would be just that, and it would completely fuck up the format. So it would make it as a reference episode kind of garbage. So we're talking about it now.
Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Tremere War Crimes.
The problem is we didn't have time. We also might have done like a full 3-part miniseries prior to the Tremere if we covered every single war crime they did.
Oh, no,
So we
I'm-
focused on their big war crime.
Yeah, no, a lot of the war crimes are getting covered in the Clan Deep Dive.
Yeah.
But this one, a little extra spicy, little Susan. See, the Tremere heard you talking shit.
Yeah, I guess. They made my throat tickle.
Bastards.
Yeah.
That's all they can do during the day.
Right. Fuck them. Bitches.
So, yeah. We are also going to be clear of the fact that every clan has their own fucking baggage, and they do fucked up shit, because all vampires are monsters, but some baggage is worse than others.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yup.
And this is definitely up there.
So, we are going to be talking about gargoyles.
Woo!
Yay! Stone voice. Stone voice. Oh, I made him sad.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer, honestly.
Yeah. So,
They shouldn't exist.
They should not, but you know what? Here we are.
Now, I can't remember. What came first, the Disney show Gargoyles or the Vampire Gargoyles books?
I think the books.
I think.
I did not research that ahead of time.
Are you talking about the Disney show?
Gargoyles.
Yeah,
Gargoyles?
that show slaps.
Or do you think that the gargoyles in Hunchback of Notre Dame came first?
It might be close.
I think the Hunchback Gargoyle. I think Hunchback came out in '97.
Yeah,
It was like later '90s.
Gargoyles came out in '94, so it was close.
Yeah, because Hunchback of Notre Dame was Disney being like, okay, we made all this money off of the silly kids animations, and now they're trying to like earn awards for doing more prestigious animations, which is why we got the Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is not a story for children.
No,
And
but it is good.
it's a good movie. I like it. Can't believe I'm losing to a bird. And then they also did Pocahontas, which was not great, but that's a story for another fucking time and episode.
It's a very pretty movie.
It's pretty.
That's pretty much all it's got going.
It's pretty. I love the hummingbird and the raccoon.
Yeah.
They're cool, but like, yeah. Anyways, Gargoyles, we're gonna be getting into creation history and how they fit into the V5 canon. Canon.
Kanan in.
Yes.
No.
We're also gonna talk a little
Winona?
bit about bloodlines and what they are as opposed to what a clan is.
Uh-huh.
And we're also gonna be talking about characters within the canon and kind of how Gargoyles will highlight certain themes in your game, and maybe you should pay attention to that because it might be a little heavy, fam, and not just because they're rocks.
Oh man.
They
man.
rocks.
Because they rocks.
They rocks.
If the start of this episode wasn't a dead giveaway, a content warning, we're going to be talking about human experimentation, indentured servitude, slavery, mutilation, torture, and religious trauma.
Woo!
Hey!
Let's go.
This was some fun research for me.
I love watching your little servo spin as you try to process the depths of depravity of that is humanity.
I didn't care about the depths of humanity. It was the inconsistent record keeping.
It was the 1500s.
I like to think that it was like the scene in Fifth Element where, why can't I remember her name?
Lilu Dallas.
Thank you, Lilu. When Lilu's taking in all the war crimes that humanity's done, and she's just like, while she's watching it, and she gets all sad, she gives
Yeah.
up on life. I like to think that that's what happened while you were
Little
doing the
bit.
research.
Also,
Except the servos were burning out.
yeah.
No,
Also,
my main question was just like, where's Shondas?
I fucking hate that like born sexy yesterday trope, but Pop Culture Detective does a really good video essay that will explain why I dislike that as much as I do.
What?
Oh, just hot lady who is innocent and is too good for this world and doesn't understand
Oh.
things, but she's hot enough for you to fuck. It's very weird and gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. The source books that we have for this, there's House of Tremere, Dark Ages, Book of Storyteller Secrets, Lore of Bloodlines, Kindred's Most Wanted, Transylvania by Night, Gargoyles video by Huddy is also a good little resource if you have the ADHD and don't want to fucking read. We also look at stuff from Chicago by Night in the V5 and core book. So
Yeah, there was a V20 book
You
in
know,
there too.
I will say that is a little bit funny, all those,
yeah.
but mostly because the Tremere are a joke.
Yes.
Yeah, they're a laughing matter until you figure out how they made the gargoyles.
No,
Give it a second.
I'm saying fuck them, essentially.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, no. Much like the concept of capitalism, it's really funny until you start getting into the origins of it. Then you're
Yeah.
just like, oh,
You're like,
no,
God damn it.
damn it.
Oh, one of our content warners. You forgot kidnapping too.
That's part of the torture and indentured servitude and slavery. That's part of it.
Point.
It's hard to indenture someone into servitude without some sort of kidnapping, I feel.
That's
Yeah.
kind of part of the course. But before we get into that, what the fuck is a bloodline?
It's one of those things that you do when you're casting ritual magic with blood, where you draw little lines on paper.
It's something we're told is going to be coming out, but we've only had one, and it's broken on PC currently.
The
Unless
last
you get a
update
patch.
for Bloodlines 2 is it's supposed to come out later this year. We'll see what happens.
That's what they said last
I know.
Then we can just hope for a strong modding community, and I'll leave it at that.
year. Yeah.
Fair.
Hey,
No.
I'm just hoping it doesn't hit Duke Nukem Forever territory.
Hey, that came out technically twice now.
Yeah, after 15 years.
It's fine. Look, things happen. But no, in previous editions of Vampire the Masquerade, a bloodline was a unique lineage of vampires that are distinct from their parent clan. Because, you had Cain, and then their kids, and then the 13 clan origins, and then 13 clans. Over the thousands and hundreds of years, there's little offshoots, little further splinterings. Those were bloodlines, essentially. These can be created through various different means. Some of them are supernatural, which involves literally magic, fucked up embraces, or diablerie. There's natural methods from convergent and divergent evolution, which is either chunks of the community, either in isolation, mutated to have different abilities, or two groups would come together and have a melding of sorts. So we have magic and evolution side by side within the
Weird.
vampire community storylines.
I guess it kind of makes sense because, they are biological. I'm using finger quotes. Biological creatures. They are like meat, but they are also magical creatures.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's kind of like, how people are, where it's like, if you live closer to the equator, populations tend to be browner because the sun is intense. It's kind of like that. There's also social reasons for the vampires to have bloodlines, which is due to caste systems or belief schisms.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about bloodlines a little bit in our Malkavian histories because they split between the Camry and the Sabbat, where originally only Sabbat Malkavians had dementation, and the Camarilla ones did not until an event happened in their history.
Yeah.
But that is an example of two separate bloodlines. So we have covered them a little bit before.
And that one was done by magic.
Yes, magic and social.
Yeah, and then there was the different forms of gangrels where there's the sharky ones because they hung out in the water, that kind of shit. And then with the Banu Hakim, because of the caste system, the different Banu Hakim have different discipline abilities based on what caste system their bloodline was in. So, fun stuff. Bloodlines tend to be smaller and function similar to how a clan is, where they have their own society and rules and abilities, and it's kind of like a little offshoot of the main clan, but they kind of do their own thing. This term can be used to refer to a branch of a clan, like tracing a family tree, but this is not as common in previous editions, where it's like, oh yeah, no, my sire was so-and-so, who's the sire so-and-so, sire so-and-so, and trace back to Hardstadt.
Yeah, it's much like how the Giovanni. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's like, even back in the old days, the Giovanni had we're Clan Giovanni, but there were 5 families.
Yeah, just you can be part of the mafia, but then there's, the different family lines.
Yeah.
So there's that. Wanted to make a small note that some clans can trace their lineage back to not Cain, whether that's Lilith, Wanjian, or some sort of unnamed eldritch abomination.
Cool.
These get listed as bloodlines in older text and by other characters within the lore. I would suggest maybe don't do that because it's kind of dismissive in a way, language wise, where it's yes, the vampire clans that can trace their lineage back to Cain through the Judeo-Christian, Greek, Middle Eastern, Abrahamic faiths. Those are the real clans. All of Africa is one bloodline. I'm just maybe don't do that. That's
It feels bad.
that's not great. That's just completely or we've come to the new world and there's characters here that are like vampires, but we can't trace their bloodline back to our guys. So these guys
They don't matter as much.
they don't matter. They're not actually vampires. It's a bloodline of something. Da 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 da. And I'm just that's dismissive and weird. Maybe don't do that.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Mechanically, it's rough. Storytelling wise, that makes total sense for the cam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's from their perspective.
Right.
But
As a perspective of a vampire, that makes sense. But I don't think that I'd really like to roleplay that so much.
Yeah. If you want to have people that are assholes characters that think these things, like, that's cool, but make sure that they are clearly assholes for thinking this.
Right.
Yeah, and that's something that, like, why we've joked and called them don'ts and stuff. But, like, the vampires from the East, now in current V5, as far as we know, has been completely erased. Has it not?
There is mentions of them in the Chicago by Night book in a weird way.
Yeah, see, but for the most part, like...
They're not really discussed. No.
They're not really discussed. And, like, if they do get brought back into another book, I think it's going to be completely different than how it was in previous editions. Mm-hmm. And part of that is that, too, it's the same sort of exoticism where it's, oh, they're Asian vampires, so they can't be regular vampires with just slightly different abilities. In the same way, it's like, oh, you're not a European vampire. Well, you're just a bloodline. You're not as important as us. Yeah. It's kind of like an more extreme version of that.
Yeah, and it's like, I am totally cool with exploring different origin stories for different groups of vampires, and I think that's interesting and cool and good ways to share mythoses from cross cultures and all sorts of shit like that. That's great. Once you start putting people in this hierarchy of like, well, we're the true vampires, these people over here, because they're not like us, or they're just an aberration, and therefore da-da-da-da-da, is a little white supremacy, and I don't like it. So I'm like, maybe don't.
Yeah, but we'll go into those.
Never mind. Yeah, we are way off topic.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit, but it ties into some of the structural issues that Gargoyles deal with,
and bloodlines.
And you get into some interesting plot lines about like hierarchy and power and what that means in a society and system. It's like, it's even built into the game itself with like the ideas of high and low clans, the fact that Thin Bloods are considered to be such an aberration to the point that like they're being branded and like exterminated and shit. So it's like, it's core into the mechanics and the storylines of the game, but there's ways to handle it that are douchey and ways that are like, we should explore this in a mature way because we're adults doing a game.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So in writing this, I could not point that out. So hello, everybody. Welcome to the woke corner. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I love when you saw the proto script I wrote and you were like, I gotta bring up the Bloodlines thing or this isn't gonna make any goddamn sense.
Yeah, so that's the rough of how they worked previously. There's a slight augment for it now in V5. Bloodlines do exist. While they might have their own unique lore, disciplines, abilities, every bloodline now exists within the context and confines of the clan that they come from. So they're not semi-independent or fully independent, like branch-off groups.
So kind of like how Chronicles handled it, if you've played Chronicles, where they, like, every clan had, like, 10 bloodlines. That this isn't going that deep, but it is tying them directly to a thing.
Yeah, and it's... so they're not as, like, insular bloodlines are, but they do exist, and they have existed basically since the core book, because you have, like, the descendant of lore sheets, basically the entire way the Hekata is structured, and then we also have the Niktuku and the Daughters of Cacophony lore sheets. Basically, bloodlines exist, and you can mechanically access them through lore sheets, is the best way it's handled, but you are part of your family unit. You're not like this weird separate group and have your own culture and all this extra shit. Right. So it's been a little bit streamlined. So
I like that.
Yeah, it makes it a little easier to organize. What is a gargoyle? Does anybody actually know?
Again, I did the research, so I'm not going to answer.
A gargoyle? It's a scary stone statue set on top of like old Catholic cathedrals and castles and things like that, to ward away quote unquote evil spirits.
Yes. And then for vampire, what is a gargoyle?
Living rock man.
But
it's that, but it gets up.
He gets up and says, "Hey, what's up?" Sometimes he also, like, I guess maybe tears you apart sometimes too.
Yeah. So they're a semi-independent vampire bloodline noted for their unique creation, stone flesh and powers, ability to fly, and lack of memories of life prior to their creation.
Oh yeah.
It begins.
Oh yeah.
So, speaking of unique creation, how do we do it? And why is it bad? Dude, just off the top of the dome, do you remember anything about how they're made?
I remember that it's not voluntary.
No.
I mean, when they do the embrace, yeah.
Even then, not really.
Yeah, you can choose. Yeah, you can choose, but it's not a great time. But again, the ritual, no, I don't know anybody who's going to willingly sign up for that.
Not that long ago, I watched a video of Doug Jones getting make-upped into a gargoyle. That was pretty cool.
Was it?
Well, it's Doug Jones, so yeah.
Yeah, that's
Hell
true.
yeah.
I mean,
He was so jolly the whole time.
Gargoyle is not initially created because of the embrace, like we have experienced delightfully throughout so far of the lore. They were initially created through a really fucked up ritual because, Tremere.
Science.
Alchemy, technically, at this point. We don't have science yet. That doesn't happen really until the 1600s.
No, that's when the technocrats were starting the science.
Anyways, so the ritual is known as At Our Command, It Breathes. It has a name.
I mean, I'm gonna say, like, that does sound kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Like, at our command, it breathes. But, exactly, yeah. But, then you read, like, 2-3 steps down. And
Yes. So we have the rough recipe of this ritual, so we're gonna walk through it together.
Yep.
Strap in, fam.
boop.
Step 1. You're gonna do lots of occult studies of thaumaturgy. That is the old-timey word for blood sorcery.
So I was right about drawing
Yeah.
lines with blood.
Yeah.
Cool.
You weren't entirely wrong, but I was like, It's okay. Step number 2. You're gonna capture some combination of Nosferatu, Gangrel, and Tzimisce. You're just gonna go out into the wilds and just
grab
snatch
'em.
some bodies off the streets.
But remember, it's only 2.
No, not necessarily. Step 3. Beat and torture your captives nightly. It is vital that their bodies and minds are broken for this ritual. It is a important ritual component that you absolutely destroy these people.
We're not going to get too far into it, but I guess if you starve them. I was going to say, like, it's hard to break a Tzimisce's body.
Step 4. Starve your captives for an entire lunar cycle,
There we are.
only feeding them defiled blood. What that means?
Pooped in it.
I haven't gotten all of the notes for the ritual, so it could be poop blood. It could be blood that is unclean for various reasons. It could be blood that is sullied because of demonic powers. Who knows? Lots of reasons.
I do want to bring up one small thing in this. Thankfully, we got this ritual in the V20 book. In the earlier books, there was just, it was very loosely defined. Thankfully, we got one book that was like, here's the actual ritual.
Yeah, because over time, sometimes you lose track of texts. Things
Right.
go missing.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
due to archivists and various other nerdery, sometimes just things pop back up. And then you're
Kind
like, I know it now.
Right.
Like how we recently rediscovered how Roman concrete works, which is very exciting.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's nuts.
It's so cool, but also just like
What?
self-healing concrete. Anyways, after you have starved and beaten your captives for at minimum 28 days, if not longer, step 5 is you stake your captives and transport them to the ritual space. So now you've done a torture and a starvation, and now you've done a sensory deprivation and or bodily harm. Because torpor is staking a vampire is fucked up because they're just
Yeah.
paralyzed, but they're aware of everything. So the most horrifying scenes from Serpent and Rainbow.
Yeah.
Also, one of the most horrifying episodes of Tales from the Crypt. What if we just put you under and then just, autopsied you?
Yeah, so that's fucked up. Step 6. Cut apart and sew back together your captives into a shape you find most useful.
And this isn't with Tzimisce's abilities, so this is just actually like cutting people up and sewing them together.
Yep,
Yeah.
full Frankenstein.
Sewn back together wrong. Back together sewn. Back together wrong. Thank you, Metalocalypse.
Hell yeah. Also, oh no. Now we've delved into science crimes.
Oh, yeah.
Oop. All right, step 7. Throw the new body and the leftovers into an occult slurry of earth, blood, etc. as part of the secret formula.
Is that the Krabby Patty?
It's Krabby Patty's secret formula.
It's the cracky patty.
Oh no.
Oh no, I mean, I guess I would be crabby having this happen to me, and if I was resewn into the slurry, I guess I would be technically also be a patty, so not inaccurate. This can be done with a cauldron, a barrel, or whatever large vessel that you can acquire. Store-bought is fine.
Bathtub,
Bathtub.
As long as you can,
kiddie pool.
make it sealed.
Well, bare minimum, it needs to be at least human-ish size, because some people during this creation make the gargoyle large.
Yeah.
So sometimes you need to have a Kronk-sized big beefy boy vessel.
Oh, like one of those inflatable hot tubs.
Yeah.
There you go.
Have you seen, oh God, I think it was on Amazon. There's a one-person hot tub you can buy that has a thing at the end that lets you boil corn whilst you're also, like, boiling yourself. Like, they're separate vessels, but, like, the heating element
So
at the end.
fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, the heating element at the end, there's a little spot on top to put a pot.
Nice.
That's
And-
actually
way
kinda
too
cool.
much.
Could you,
You could
the
have,
absolute...
you could have hot chocolate or mulled wine.
mulled wine. Look, the absolute decadence of having a personal hot tub and then also just eating cobs of corn.
How much does this cost?
I don't remember. It has to be at least $1,000.
I'm just saying.
All right, new Patreon tier. Somebody sends us $1,000.
Get us the corn
John
tub.
gets the corn tub.
I'll stream it. I'll
We-
be,
that
I'll
would
be
be
a
blank
streamer,
Everybody's
girl.
hot
It's
tub
fine.
stream.
Yep.
Hot tub and corn stream. If we get 4 of them, we'll record all of our episodes from now on in the corn tub.
Hello.
Personal corn tub. We don't want one big one. We need our own tubs.
Hello, gentlemen, ladies, ladies. Are any of you into long, gangly men that look like Lurch and are very charming? Would you like to see them in a hot tub
Eating
making
Eating
corn?
Some corn.
Now the
You
question
too
is,
can donate $1,000 to
John,
Blank Bodies.
for your corn tub stream,
Yeah.
would you be wearing fishnets and a Speedo? Like, what's your outfit for
Oh,
this?
well, I would assume, like, we'll have to think of a few different options, and then we'll let the Patreon members vote on it.
Okay, cool. We can,
Or specifically whoever pays that
Yeah,
$1,000.
who
we
paid
can
it.
we can get you posed like a paper doll and then have cutouts and like slide the outfits over
Yeah.
to decide what your corn tub stream outfit's gonna be.
I'm in.
The corn tub fit.
The corn tub. Oh, no.
Okay, we have to go back to the atrocities. I'm sorry, everyone.
The syndicate must make a disclaimer. This is a one-time payment. Only do this if you are very serious. Please do not do this as a haha.
Do it as a haha, but only if it's in your economic means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you
Find
got-
me a corn tub.
Yes. Anyway, so the crime so far is learning the occult rituals that defy the laws of nature and God, kidnapping, torture, further torture through starvation.
Further torture through staking
Yeah.
No.
Beatings will continue.
until
I don't-
morale improves.
Oh, morale! No, we
No,
want
until
the,
morale is non-existent.
Oh,
Yeah, the- not-
Willpower.
yeah. If the
Went the
morale
wrong way there.
improves, we have to hit them harder and or in ways that they don't like.
We have to
Okay,
keep
got
going.
it.
Yeah,
Got
because we're millennials and we know way too many people that are into like, look, I need you to hit me so I can at least feel something, which is valid.
Yeah,
Anyways,
because this is the one time if you moan daddy when you're getting hit, they're not going to stop. They're going to be like, well, we have to hit them differently.
for science reasons. Speaking for science reasons, you're gonna cut them apart and then put them back together. So now we have medical malpractice and torture.
Medical malpractice.
You are performing surgeries that are unnecessary, that are doing harm to your patient. That is absolutely against the Hippocratic Oath.
I 100% agree. I just thought it was funny you're using the legal term for it.
I'm just bringing up the
they're gonna
fact that
answer for these crimes.
nothing inclusively says that Tremere have medical doctrines. They can pretend like they're science men with
There's
their coats.
a lot of Tremere people that were actually doctors before Embrace.
I just
makes
imagine
sense.
one really dorky Ventru like has a problem with this, and it's just like, we need to talk about your medical malpractice insurance that you've taken through my company.
But I'm just saying.
I have footage.
Of you
I'm
doing
just saying,
crimes.
I want the Ventru that it makes a sole mission that every time somebody embraces a new Tremere and they were a doctor, they're like, and license revoked? Why? Fuck you, you know why?
Just look at the crimes.
We're gonna have to double your premiums this month.
But yeah, so you've staked them, you've cut them apart and sewn them back together like some weird, very unfortunate turduncan. And you've you've yeeted the whole thing into some sort of vessel, like some unholy fucking gumbo.
Yep.
Question.
Yes.
They bury them?
What? Yep.
Kinda.
Yeah, then we get to step 8. Yeah.
Yeah. So step 8 is you need to let the solution ferment for months. So this person who is conscious is in a dirty barrel for months.
Usually, this is missing in here, but yeah, the step 8 usually is bearing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
usually you usually bury whatever container you have under the earth. It doesn't, if I recall correctly in the research, I didn't write it down. The earthen properties that the gargoyle inherits isn't the earth that they are buried in, it's the earth that's in the solution specifically.
Yeah, it's just a lot of the times, I think for convenience reasons and for ritual things you can get away with, instead of burying your gargoyle barrel like kimchi in the dirt, you can just put it like in a wine cellar. You're like, it's underground.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that old ritual they did just keep it
The
in
fact that
bucket.
I'm referring to people in a barrel to fermented cabbage should be upsetting.
Also, like, because these things are still alive, you would need to protect it from the sun at all costs,
Yep.
or the sun would nuke whatever you've got cooking.
Yeah, so like also just the amount of fucking wealth and power you have to do this ritual, because you need a room to torture somebody in for at least a month that no one's going to question, and then you have to keep this conscious person in a dirty barrel mud soup thing for months away from the sun, and also have the space to be able to continue to perform rituals.
I mean, to be fair, Dahmer did that part.
Yeah,
He tried.
he succeeded,
He succeeded.
mostly because the cops were lazy and homophobic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he didn't make a gargoyle. That's what I'm saying. He's trying.
Kinda. He tried.
He tried.
Content warning, he tried to put battery acid in this poor kid's head because he wanted to have a love zombie. So he
Yeah.
kind of tried. So while the fermentation process is happening, the Tremere must continue to perform rituals and rites. So this is not a one and done. This is a continued torture.
Jesus.
The Tremere do not know how a lot of these rituals that they just like innately performed on the gargoyles became their disciplines. They want to replicate it. Like the whole flying thing. They don't understand how the fuck they gave them that permanently.
Yeah.
They thought it was a temporary.
Yeah, we will get into that. But yeah, so continuing the rites and rituals during the fermentation process, if they fail in doing any of these correctly or at the wrong time, could either result in a subpar gargoyle or the loss of the entire specimen.
As in, it would die?
Yes.
Or it would, like, come out as, like, a...
Either it would come up,
thing.
either it would be like, not as good, come up fucked up, and then they'd have to kill it, or it would just die in the process.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd just be some weird like flesh meat thing that they're like, well, that's not what we're going for.
Right.
Time to incinerate this. Oops, just like, well, I wasted 3 months.
Time to try again.
Yep, I'm a vampire. I technically live forever. Time is a non-problem for me.
Yeah.
And step 9, upon successful ritual, you now have a completely mind wipe minion to do as your bidding and train as you will.
The process, no matter which way you become a gargoyle, pretty much completely wipes your mind. You can have some small memories still, but for the most part, you ain't got any of them.
Yeah.
At least you won't remember what's been happening for the last 2 months.
No, that part you remember. It's
Yeah.
all your mortal life before that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or your vampire life before
Yeah,
that.
everything before the ritual, you're like, I have no fucking idea. Yeah,
This
so
is the
this
most
is-
gaslighting.
This is the Manchurian candidate process that the CIA wishes they could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for to revisit on our episode with the Second Inquisition, those of you who are like, I don't see what the big deal is about all this. Torture is a sensitive subject to approach in any context. Torture violates people by explicit design. The U.S. Military Code of Justice, the Geneva Convention, and laws and mores of every civilized country consider torture a crime against humanity. Yeah, so when people say fuck the Tremere and Tremere war crimes, this is literally a war crime, guys.
You get now why we have been like
Yeah.
doing this, and this is just their. This is one of their most egregious options, and
Yeah.
we know it still happens and is canon in V5.
Well, the ritual happening anymore is supposedly no, but we will get into that in the actual
later, yeah.
Tremere episode, because the practice of making gargoyles does become a big political hot button issue in the Dark Ages, and is a big point of contention into the Tremere being accepted into the Camarilla. So we'll get into that next episode, kids.
Yeah, though I will bring up before we get into this. Yeah, no, the combinations, they always fell into these casts. They could only be two.
No, I know. We can get into that in a moment.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. Anyways, yeah, so now that we have a gargoyle, how do they function in vampire society? How does this interact in with your game?
Why is it bad?
Yes. So Clan Tremere created this bloodline of gargoyles to act as guards, soldiers, and servants for their own machinations. We will get into why they had to do that in the next episode.
Yeah.
So, So most of the time, gargoyles fell into 3 categories, which were scouts, which are a combination of Gangrel and Nosferatu of some sort. They were created with specialties in stealth and recon, with a special feature to turn to stone if they were damaged, so they could be retrieved later.
Great.
Like they just
So, like
Like a
hold
dead
up.
drop.
Would that make them sunproof too?
Yeah. Once they turn to stone, they're sunproof.
They're just a statue.
yeah,
Yep.
they'd 100% be the gargoyle of just
I
Yeah.
mean, for real though, that is pretty cool. Unfortunate everything surrounding it.
Yeah.
exactly. Or it's like, wow, these guys are really powerful, and then it's like later on,
You're
even
like,
when you
oh,
look in the
bummer.
rules later, when it's like you can be embraced by these guys, you're still gonna lose.
Yeah.
Still gonna
I,
suck.
I cover that later. Yes. But yeah, so basically the scout is the equivalent of ye olde black box from the airplane, where it's like, we can get it later. It's fine. If they get fucked up, I don't care.
Right.
Then we have the warrior, which is Gangrel and Tzimisce combination. They were created for war and destruction and to fight the enemies of the Tremere as efficiently as possible. These were inspired by the Schlachta. I never know how to say that correctly.
I feel like it's Zlachta.
Schlachta.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's.
It's
Okay. Cool.
mostly on the Z, I think.
Yeah, I did not grow up with any kind of Cyrillic, Russo, Ukraini, any
The
of
only
that.
reason I know is because I feel like I remember looking it up on YouTube and listening to like 6 or 7 of those, like, how do you pronounce this thing? Which is not horribly reliable, but they were all pretty much the same. So,
Okay, cool. Good to know. This is one of those words that I always just read and never say aloud.
right, yeah.
But yeah, they were built to win through intimidation and physical punishment. So these are your big, cronky, strong boys, and they were usually the most fucked up looking ones.
I could imagine.
Yeah.
And these ones I always find interesting when you read about them. The Sentinels.
Yeah, the Sentinel is the combination of Nosferatu and Tzimisce. These were created to watch over the Tremere living spaces, to keep the havens safe and homey. As such, this cast was usually friendly and sociable.
They were. I love that because I'm just like, oh, these were the inside gargoyles. This is.
Yep.
They were. It's not in the script, but they were also seen as a sign of luxury and stature in a Tremere. If you were anybody in the Tremere and you had a Sentinel gargoyle under your control, they were like, ooh, he's got some power. He's got a butler.
That was more in the Dark Ages, where the creation of them was more common because of the banning of the process of creating them. There has been over the centuries a steady decline in the amount of gargoyles. So even having any one of them in your home is considered a sign of wealth and prestige, particularly among the Tremere, if not among other vampires, because they're like, oh, you can afford to have this servant person?
Wow.
Wow. Which I did write about in the script. It's later on.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. But yeah. In Old World of Darkness, gargoyles had their own unique disciplines as well. So there is Visceratica.
Yeah, Visceratica?
Visceratica.
What the
Another
fuck?
word I've only read in my brain and never said aloud.
That doesn't look like a real word. I'm just saying.
It's basically a bastardization of like vicissitude. But basically it is very similar to Protean, except it leans into like stone and earth themings, and it gives them like greater discipline. So it's kind of Protean and Fortitude got slammed together, but it's rock based.
Yeah.
So it's like somebody's coming at me with a sword. I'm going to turn my arm into like a stone arm. And
I can
block.
meld
that's
into the
perfect.
walls of the building and the castle and like keep watch on everybody. That kind of shit.
Okay.
Yeah, just when the walls go, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, and then there's flight. It's just called flight because gargoyles can fly. All gargoyles can fly.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's cool as fuck. It is magic flight though,
Yeah.
because they're stone.
Yeah, and those wings those wings are a part of the flight, but it's not like there's no lift for, well, what we think in science as lift. It's a part of, but it's not like the actual
The wings are
process.
how they channel the power.
Yeah, exactly.
Potentially, like there's gargoyles that don't have wings that can fly, and there's gargoyles that do have wings that are able to make it look like they're falling with style. Because baby gargoyle can fall with style and glide, and then as they get more powerful, they can actually have ups.
Gotcha.
Because I think that they also do like the bird thing with their like gargoyle sire, or like after the ritual when they are trained by an older gargoyle, they just have somebody that's like, okay, cool, let's go to an abandoned building. Why? Yeet.
Oh yeah.
You'll figure it out.
Oh yeah.
And if he doesn't, he'll be fine. So
Yeah, exactly. He'll just, we're gonna get you some blood.
we'll try that again in 20 minutes.
I'm gonna kick you off the building again.
Yep.
Do you want a snack pack?
Get it right, and I'll give you a snack pack. You can't be nice about it. I mean, come on.
Sorry, just the mental picture of a gargoyle just hanging off the side of a building, grumpy with like a bag of blood, like a Capri Sun, just like, so what did you learn? Don't lean forward. Yeah.
I must believe in me.
Yeah. So for these reasons, part of the ritual for gargoyles gives them a weakness to be particularly easy to be mind controlled, which the Tremere have access to dominate. Funnily enough. This also goes along with the complete destruction to actually create the gargoyles. So, part of the ritual involves basically mentally and emotionally breaking them down. So, that helps with the mind control. And unfortunately, because of this being an innate part of the ritual, it does affect the embrace as well. So even if you're just like chilling and then a gargoyle embraces you, goodbye to those memories. You might vaguely remember once enjoying a sandwich with your dad, but
You can't remember. I think there's a quote from an individual later on in the script, Ferox, where he will bring up the fact that he's like, no, I remember things a little bit, but I can't remember their face. Like, I know I had a dad and I remember this thing, but I don't remember anything concrete.
Right.
yeah. And as stated previously, a Tremere vampire or a chantry having a gargoyle on staff, use big air quotes there, is a sign of high prestige and power, while gargoyles technically have been free for hundreds of years as part of a pact we'll talk about in the next episode. Many continue to remain as servants because they don't know what the fuck else to do, or some of them are still low-key kind of being like gaslit or brainwashed into staying. So
We did mention that they are particularly easy to mind control.
yeah,
Which I do know it's brought up in the later lore. Any of the free ones, if they are in a city, they can be chill with the city. The moment somebody tries to mind control them, they will they will be pissed. They will inform all of the other gargoyles, and they will fuck off.
Well, yeah.
yeah. The few gargoyles that have survived into modern nights mostly ally with the Camarilla, from my understanding of the current lore, and it seems to kind of be stemmed to be more of like a survival, just kind of like, hey, so shit's fucked. We're just gonna kind of lean into what we know and proceed from there. The free gargoyles that have chosen to not ally with Camarilla tend to be more independent, so they nominally become anarchs.
I was about to say, we forgot the smallest of weaknesses that, shouldn't be said, but has to be said. They also look like gargoyles, so, it's kind of hard to blend into society.
Yeah.
For that reason, and like for the easily mind wiped and all that jazz, I'm kind of surprised that there's not more of them in the Sabbat. Like, you'd think the Sabbat would see that and be like, that is a tool we are going to use.
Yeah. There's mention in some of the old lore that there are a handful of gargoyles that join the Sabbat because they're just like, look, I was created for war and destruction, so I'm gonna just keep doing that.
Yeah, and then just Meatsy and the Blood Brothers are just like, hell yeah.
Let's go.
I think another big reason is, we always talk about the Zamitsi and the Lasombra as like the main members of the Sabbat, but there are a lot of Tremere Sabbat as well. And so getting away from
It's
them-
kind of, the thing with the Tremere Sabbat is kind of wonky. There actually is not a lot of Tremere Sabbat.
Really, I thought there were.
No. Like, Goratrix is really into the Sabbat, but he has like his little posse, and like, that's it.
See, I thought that he had a pretty big faction, though.
No.
Really?
And again, as I've stated in a few episodes, the few Tremere that are in the Sabbat, usually the Sabbat, you're too scary to deal with the cam, and they put up with some shit.
Well, I mean, if you get into like the structure of the Tremere, because they're so hierarchical, and just, you know, I am the older one because I have studied more and I have prestige and I is very antithetical to how the Sabbat are.
Where it's, I'm the fucking toughest. It doesn't matter how old you are or
Yeah.
how much you know. I can fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that alone tends to mean they don't vibe terribly often, and there are chunks of the Sabbat that make a point of, if there are any Sabbat Tremere, they're just like, nuke it from orbit.
Yeah.
Nuke it from orbit. We're just gonna, which is why Goretrix's stuff tends to be very secret society and layers of bullshit, and Goretrix might actually be Tremere. It's a whole thing. We'll get into it next episode.
We'll get into it later.
Yeah. Oh my god. I was betrayed by my phone.
Oh, no, it's okay.
It's fine. It just
Traitor!
skipped all the way to the end.
Oh, no.
Yes. Gargoyles generally tend to have a deep sense of community with each other. Elders will put a lot of time and effort into training the younger gargoyles on how to maintain the masquerade, because, you know, they got a fucked up face and they're rocks.
Yeah, fucked up everything.
And also because they can all fly.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta, you know, make sure that the homie that is a baby bat, it doesn't accidentally in the middle of a conversation levitate and then go through a window.
I'm just picturing like the Gary's mod, just like disable gravity, just doot, 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 doot.
I as an ST would do that as like, okay, cool.
Roll willpower.
You're having a frenzy. You're losing control of your powers. So you just start to like lift slightly and just kind of start to slowly spin like a tape recorder in a space station. Just
Well, I feel like that's part of the horror of it too, is like you are waking up with almost no memories whatsoever. Like that could even mean like I have to relearn like complete like body motor function skills in a new body, and I can't remember how my old arms worked.
Yeah.
But now I have new beefy arms made up of like arms of multiple creatures.
Oh,
And
don't
rocks.
forget, you don't lose like your skills and whatnot when you lose your memories. You just like you still kind of have like your like innate known traits as a person.
It's left a little bit up to interpretation. So if you, for a gargoyle, want to create one where he had to like be completely retrained, go for it. If you want to have a Jason Bourne, I don't know who I am, but I have kung fu skills, go for it. That's also a valid storyline. Have fun.
Okay, cool.
With the trauma.
So I'm gonna give it a pause because this is a funny joke, but I'm just giving Hunter the option to cut this. Just be like, I'm just sitting here thinking about how entertaining it would be to have a gargoyle that has autism, and when he just accidentally starts levitating, he just starts making rocket noises. Just
His version of stimming is just floating a little bit.
yeah, just skimming and then just lightly.
Rocket Man,
Yeah.
I'm gonna break DCMA. Anywho.
That'd be great.
If given a choice, a gargoyle will prefer to make a haven somewhere up high.
Makes sense.
I just like that. It's very cute. Where they're just like, I just want to be up. It's like a cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and also they like, if you really want to play into it, and I joked about it earlier, but that Disney cartoon, like if you really want to do it, you could definitely just have a gargoyle who's like, no, I just perch here every night and turn to stone, and then I'll wake up, I'm high up on a building.
Yeah, because I know, like, I don't think it's a huge investment in the old world. Again, I haven't fully looked through the supplement that was put on the Storyteller's Guide, but yeah, like, you could just, like, be like, cool, I turn to stone. That's what my sleep is. I'm just here. I pretend I am decoration.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I've always thought it worked, is essentially like you see what I thought, and maybe you can correct me here, but I thought it was their thing was when the sun rises, they always turn to stone. Not that they couldn't just lie down in a bed. Well, they could, but then they would turn to stone in that bed. Like when the sun is down, they are stone.
It's not inherently. They have to still use
They
that.
have to decide to do it.
Yeah, they have to do that Versteert thing. They have to have the discipline. They can't just be like, oh, yeah, we're always immune to the sun.
I thought
It's kind of like, Earth meld,
Okay.
where it's like, you can technically sleep outside, but like, unless you're able to melt with the earth and be dirt, good luck.
Yeah.
You're still
Yeah.
technically a vampire and have vampire problems.
Yeah. You still have to, like, make a conscious choice. It's not like it just happens.
Also, a fun fact, and I just enjoy this because I'm this kind of dork. Gargoyles have a font.
They have a font.
Yeah, because there's a font that's used for a lot of like the gargoyle like text and books and whatnot. So the font is Calcin Antique.
All right then.
So, and it's a pretty bitchin' if you want to get like if you want to get your 12th century Gothic vibes on in a font.
Yeah,
No.
It's a good looking font.
I'm looking at it. It's a good looking. It's designed by William Caslon.
That's solid.
Yeah, just the graphic design nerd in me was just like, I have a name for this font. Hell yeah, I can use it for things now. Fucking, why are you shaking your head at me? Fuck you,
You're a
Skipper.
fucking nerd.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
So we have a couple of notable NPCs and mechanics for V5.
Mm-hmm.
So the first NPC is Verstinia, who was a mage who was embraced as a Tremere in 1111.
Mm-hmm.
She is known as the mother of gargoyles. All of these crimes are technically her fault.
Damn.
But she also really loves and cares for her little babies.
So she does all this horrible shit, and then is like, "Give me a hug."
Well, it's not in this. It's not. It probably got cut out for like fucking history reasons. She's not the only one. She's just one of the main ones. She's just considered to be one of the like reasons why it worked.
Yeah, basically the Tremere had an R&D department, and they were trying to work on this, and they couldn't fucking figure it out. And then they found this mage who's like really good at summoning shit. And they're like, what if we got this bitch in on it? And she was our A-team. I'm sad I don't remember the name of the scientist ladies in NASA who were doing the math to make the rockets go.
Yeah.
So she gets the title of Mother of Gargoyles, which I just think is kind of cool, but also, yeah, she's got this like, yeah, I did all this fucked up shit, but I also really care about these things because like I made them and I deal with them and they're empathy. So they're like my babies, but I also had to like torture and technically murder several vampires to make each and every one of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. But her care and concern for the gargoyles is part of the reason that they were able to do their rebellion. There was a gargoyle rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I will get into that next episode.
Yep.
So Shondus is the first known gargoyle, created around 1121. He disappeared during a mission in 1126.
So it took him a decade to get the first one done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 10 years of just grinding up Nosferatu, Gangrel, and Tzimisce, and just being like, did it work? Throw it out the window.
And this was mostly taking place in like Eastern Europe, correct?
Yeah, so it's very
Yeah.
Carpathian Mountains, Romania, that whole region.
It was really pretty everywhere.
It's gorgeous. Absolutely
Absolutely
stunning.
gorgeous. Just-
Fucking the pierogies slap.
yes.
Just
don't look in the basement.
Just don't look at any Romanian.
Yeah.
No, I really hope on the history episode we do get into why they chose those three vampires. Oh.
Shondus may have been captured by Tzimisce. I don't fucking know. Though Verstinia apparently had rumors about there being a rock lord building forces in the Carpathian Mountains.
Wait, who is this?
Shondus,
Shondus.
the first gargoyle.
Yeah.
Shonda's. Okay.
Yeah, so there's some hints that during the stoking the rebellions that Verstinia was like, my eldest baby ran off into the mountains and he's starting a rebellion.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have no records if that's what happened.
Yeah, there are very, very little records on Shondus other than just, this is the first one, definitely.
Yeah, and then Ferox, whomst
Ferox, or as I like to call him, the vampire that shoots Jesus out of his eyes.
yes, and we will get to that, but he's got a big boy. This might have been somebody's player character story, so I'm gonna try and cliff notes this. But if you want to read it, there's a whole wiki page.
He's
So Ferox started off as a Bruja ghoul. Blech. Ferox started off as a Bruja ghoul in 40 CE. So he was around for Jesus.
I was like, what up, G Wizzy?
G Rizzy Yahweh C.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, Ferox was obtained by the Venture later on as a retainer / informant. I don't know if he was narking on the Bruja to the Venture. It's left a little vague.
Right.
Converted to Christianity and began to speak out against the cruelty of vampiric society.
I mean, good on him for that.
Yeah. The cool kind of Christians that are like giving out sandwiches to the homeless and
Yeah.
power establishment. Yeah.
Right.
During this time,
Probably actually hung out with Jesus.
he was 100% during this time also warning vampires that the first Inquisition was about to happen. He's like, this is going to fucking happen.
Yeah. I was like, well, no, I think he converted after Jeezy because Jeezy would have died in like 33 and he was embraced in 40.
I was saying he might have like hung out with him. He
he
seen
might
him.
have.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a
he
nod.
might have.
Oh yeah, that dude who did the fish thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a cool magic trick, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hung out with hookers. It was a good time.
yeah,
I didn't know he was the son of God.
right.
Book. Why he T-posing? Fuck. I'm gonna get us canceled. Anyways, after he was booted from the church, he got kicked out of the church. It was very
poor
sad. He was traded off to the Tremere, who saw him as a wonderful specimen.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
It begins. The mistreatment of the Gargoyles snapped his sense of ghoul-induced loyalty, because he was very like, I'm a ghoul, I'm a serve these vampires, they doing fucked up shit, but I'm gonna do my job, duty. And then, the Tremere kicked his ass so hard, he went, fuck that. You take my badge and my gun.
He also just didn't like the way they were treating the gargoyles. He's like, what the fuck?
But
Yeah.
yes. So the Gargoyles were like, hey, he's a homie. Let's get him the fuck out of here, because, he's chill. He's Mark. He's our Mark. During that, it didn't go well. The Tremere caught on, and they recalled the vampire blood in him that made him a ghoul.
Because they can do that.
They
shit.
can do that.
Yeah.
They just were like, what if I just Control-Alt-Deleted your superpowers that have been keeping you alive since 40 CE, and it's now like 1100, 1300, 14,
It's surprising he didn't just immediately turn to dust.
He was.
He started to.
Yeah.
He was.
He started to, and then the Gargoyles panicked, and they're just like, I embrace him, go. Red button time.
I mean, I guess that is kind of the only option at that point. Either that or let him turn to dust.
Yeah, and because of the process of how gargoyle embraces go, Ferox does not remember any of that shit, but he maintains his true faith.
Mm-hmm. To the point. Yeah, no. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Okay.
So he somehow has maintained, because I guess as a ghoul you can have true faith. And his true faith remained, and that's all that remains of the previous Ferox. And it's so powerful that looking upon him gives you like the Ghost Rider penance stare.
Yeah, you can't advance on him or get anywhere near unless you have truth faith too. That's the reason why, because the process, one, he was aging so rapidly, he became an albino. And two, when you see him, he has mirrored sunglasses on, because if he takes them off, if you don't have true faith, you cannot come closer to him. Like if he just goes,
At least if you're a vampire.
Yes.
also some sinners.
Yeah, if you're a human and you fuck around too hard. So if you're Hitler, you can't.
Yeah,
No.
Hitler would just be like, I
Hitler,
cannot advance.
absolutely not. George Bush, Dick Cheney, absolutely not.
No. I.e.
Joe Biden, probably not either.
Probably not, honestly.
yeah.
No.
I.e. why
Just
the,
too creepy.
yeah, i.e. why I have the quote, and I'm not joking. When I wrote this paper, I was just like, Farrah, this is the fucking vampire that shoots Jesus out of his
Yes.
eyes, because
Yeah, so
much.
he is also known as the Rock Lord. So
There might be two Rock Lords?
there might be two Rock Lords. He might have
Or
just
it was him.
it was either him the whole time or somebody. There was just a rumor of a Rock Lord, and then he just became dope and he just earned it. He basically went, I'm Hardshot now.
Yeah.
because again, of our two potential like people who led the rebellion, it's sometimes it could be Ferox, could be Vershani.
Yeah, so those are important gargoyle related characters. If you want to use them for your games, go for it. If you want to read about the marvelous misadventures of Ferox, there's tons of shit.
Yeah, the Kindred Most Wanted.
Yes. So what the fuck does all this mean in the context of V5? So gargoyles are canon. They do exist. There is a mention of a gargoyle that stalks the halls of the Hyde Park Chantry in Chicago.
Huh.
This gargoyle was initially put there by the High Council of the Tremere to keep track of Nikolai, who was the regent of Chicago. He's particularly fucked up because he was embraced at the age of 10, and he was just a powerful little psychopath.
You never embrace kids?
No.
Never. It's always a bad. I feel like I think one of the things every vampire should do after you're done being embraced, just show them Anne Rice's interview with the vampire and just be like, this is why we don't embrace children. Do you see it? Do you see the reason?
Yeah, I mean, you can get into some interesting story stuff if people are consenting to want to explore this about nature versus nurture, what does that socially mean for somebody to be trapped in a body they don't want to be in mentally, all that kind of shit.
Right.
But in the case of Nikolai, little psycho bastard.
Okay.
Good news is he's probably dead now in the canon.
That's good.
Bad news is now there's just a gargoyle with no job, just stuck in the Chicago Chantry doing God knows what.
Bummer.
Yeah. So, and there's also a gargoyle encounter in the LA by Night series, which is a really cool episode. I enjoy it.
So now, I know it's meta, but now if we ever play a Chicago game, I don't care what character I'm playing. We have to go to the Chicago Chantry and just be like, we need to take him out for walkies. This is bullshit.
I mean, depending on how you want to run it. I've run the Chicago Chantry as a 13 Ghosts, Rose Red kind of mansion house thing where you can just get lost in there.
That's fine. I'd still kick the door in and let the fucking dog out for a walk. That feels cruel.
He's a person. Gargoyles are people.
Yeah,
I
he's
know,
got a
and if
consciousness.
he's still walking around and he can't get out.
Yeah, so he might be chilling. He might be trying to like plan his escape.
I'm just gonna say this.
There's also a very big allegedly about the death of the man he's protecting.
Yeah, I did put allegedly because according to the lore in the Chicago by Night, because there's two Tremere in Chicago by Night that are canonically his childer, and they're both just like, well, I don't feel him anymore, so I think he's dead. But that is not an uncommon thing to happen amongst the Tremere, and then it turns out they're not dead. They just soul shifted into somebody else's body, so who the fuck
yeah.
knows?
Or they're sleeping, or
They're in torpor.
Yeah.
Nikolai might have been captured by the Second Inquisition, and he's being experimented on.
who knows?
Which is just going to make him more of a psycho bastard. Oh my god.
Speaking of psycho bastards.
Speaking of psycho bastards, there is a Jersey Devil outside the window.
Yeah, my
Oh
pup's
my
just
God.
staring at us.
Very
Yeah,
cute.
He kind of figured it out. He's like, wait, I can go over
But
here.
yeah,
and they
so
can see us.
to wrap, we are getting close
Yeah.
towards the end, my friends. There is no official sheet or stats for running a gargoyle in the raw info. So if you are interested in running an NPC or an actual player character that is a gargoyle, there is the V5 Gargoyle supplement that exists in Storyteller's Vault and on Drive-Thru RPG. It is a pay what you want, but it was written by a very lovely person who runs the Clan Gargoyle Twitter account. Tyler Rose is adorable and delightful, and if you could chuck them a couple of bucks,
That'd be great.
go for it.
Yeah.
Because it's a pay what you want.
Yes. So there's rules in there that are pretty cool and balanced. I've enjoyed the book. I haven't had a chance to use it yet for anything, but it's a good read.
Sick.
Yeah. So if you want to, go for it. It's just technically not in the raw, so I can't really give you, per our agreement on how we were writing things for the podcast, rules.
Yep.
Right.
But if you want to look into it, here's an option.
Bum, bum, bum.
So, we made it.
We made it.
We got through the slurry and the torture and all the bullshit. I didn't even get into.
Oh my god, I just realized.
Yeah.
Gargoyles are essentially made through an Unganga.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then we're also forced to do manual labor and
Yeah.
war crime. It's
That's nuts.
and or house servitude. I can't imagine having to do the laundry for a chantry.
Just so much blood.
So much and other fluids. And,
Yeah, no good.
oh my god.
I feel like I like gargoyles a lot. They're cool. I think it'd be fun to put in your story or even play as one.
Yeah.
But I absolutely understand why they haven't put them in the core book, because that's a lot to give to players, especially a new player.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have so many weaknesses at that point. Just like not only the eye, you can be mind controlled. You are ugly all the time. Just like, how challenging is that? Just like, how do you have touchstones other than like just going to a park and staring at a human and just being like, How do you interact? You need to have so many Ben Grimm things.
Have you not watched the Gargoyles cartoon?
It's
There's
Without
that reporter
imme-
lady that hung out with all of them.
Look,
and they were friends.
I'm just saying.
Steadfast friends.
They were good friends, roommates even.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and then she got shot by one of them.
yeah, there was the
That is true.
episode. But there's also just the internet where they're just like, I want to fuck a monster, and I'm like, you know what? I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. The fucking like half the gargoyles are hot apparently.
Then that's just the final Tales from Beyond story where the gargoyle doesn't turn into a hot black lady.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
it is.
yep.
Yep. That is the illustrated panel of a Disney character wielding a Glock to shoot somebody because he is afeared.
So
Well, no. He was playing around because he thought he was a cowboy.
Yeah.
And he didn't know what guns did.
That's what it
damn,
was.
that's
Yep.
sad. And ties in with the no memories thing.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you want to delve into the morality of torture and slavery in your game, Gargoyles are a good lens to discuss that, but also, that's a lot. Maybe talk about it with your friends at a session 0.
Yeah.
On a brighter note, though, I think you could also use a gargoyle to explore a story, kind of like we were talking about, of like someone who's like kind of childlike and doesn't quite understand, like, because they do have a lot of their mind wiped, and you kind of get to decide how much is gone and how much is there. You could play a gargoyle as like a pretty honestly innocent, like more young-minded character, and them just having to deal with being this fucking monstrous thing now.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a much more comfortable way than like being turned as a child. I think pretty much every table I've ever heard where someone suggested that has been like a no.
Yeah.
Big no, and why are you asking to do that? Whereas I think if you presented it through the lens of a gargoyle, I think that's a much more comfy.
Yeah, because there's a difference between I want to play something that has the body of a child but the mind of an adult versus I would like to play something that has a childlike mind.
But could snap me in two because it is
Yeah.
a strong being, because it has gains, because we sewed together the gains of 4 characters into one body.
Yeah,
It could be an Iron Giant.
yeah, or like a Frankenstein.
Yeah.
They're quite literally, I mean, like a Frankenstein type creation. And one of the things that I learned that I had always assumed is that they were always kind of stony and rock-like, and you could change that. They don't all have to look like a gargoyle that you'd see like crouched on a building, because these are just like flesh monsters. You could give them multiple arms instead of wings. Like if you wanted to,
There's
dash
actually
there,
100% that happened.
hell yeah. Like you could, instead of maybe they don't fly, but they can leap really far. Mechanically, it's the same, but like you could have a lot of fun with that.
Let's be real. The sewing together part was just like Kirkland's best fucking vicissitude.
So this is the start of explaining why the Tremere fucked up, and we're gonna get into that
In our next series.
in our next series. So hopefully that was the worst. It's not the worst of it.
No.
That's not the worst of it. Oh god. Pray for me, everybody. So Paralyze does good music.
Yeah, I love me some Paralyze.
Yeah, check them out on Bandcamp and other media sources.
Yeah. We also have our Twitter, _bodies. We have our Instagram at blankbodiespod, our TikTok at blankbodiespodcast, and you can check us out, see what we're doing on there. We usually post new episodes, polls.
We also have a
kinds of stuff.
Tumblr I keep forgetting to add to the endnotes. I'm so sorry.
I added
friend.
it to the new template, so when we make new episodes going forward, it'll be
Cool.
on
What's
there
the
now.
Tumblr?
Oh, the Tumblr? Oh,
You
it's
run that. I
wonderful.
expect you to know this.
Yeah,
It's
that's
so
yours.
wonderful. I love the Tumblr. It's excellent.
It is fine and good.
Fine and dandy. It's
I'll
Blank
say
Bodies
this.
Pod.
Blank Bodies
I'll
Pod
say
on
this:
Tumblr.
Bodies
the
Pod.
Tumblr is good. I'm sure that lots of things are on there that are lovely, but Hunter runs it, so it's gonna be a bit unhinged.
It's going to be a little feral.
It's followed by a lot of porn bots. So if you're trying to find some porn and you just don't know where to go look at our our list of followers.
You know what? I am very pro sex work, so hell yeah.
Actually, I hit our list of followers. So joke's on you, horny people.
How dare you? I'm still pro sex work though.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't know about sex robots yet, though. That's something we'll have to discuss in the coming decade as a
well,
society. But
When we get to the syndicate, we can talk about it.
We'll figure that out. If you like what we do
It
have.
will definitely be data tracking your dicks.
Yeah, I would assume that is already happening. But if you like us and you want to track us a couple of doll hairs, we do have a Patreon. It comes with some extra perks and stuff involving show notes, polls. We are working towards adding more to things, correct? Yes? We're
Yes.
building upon our things.
yeah, so right now we got Discord titles at every tier. We have the $5 incel. You just give us $5 and you get a Discord tier, and we shake your hands and say thank you, and you get into the Discord. The special channel we have for our patrons. We have the $10 Elder, where you also can vote on episode polls, and we're working on putting together our show notes for that.
And also, if you want me to do a character illustration for you, we have tiers for that. And a secret tier that is a joke. Do not give us that money unless you're cool with it.
Yeah, just give me $100 for blood.
And again,
Blood.
apparently now we're perfectly fine with donating $1,000 for a corn tub.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. Should we make that a Patreon goal, the corn tub? enjoy our interview series. We have talked to other creators that do cool things with tabletop gaming, music. We had our stuff with Brian from Vascrum, which was delightful. If you want to take part in that, we have blankbodies@gmail.com. We are still trying to find actual vampires on top of LARPers and other groups of people. If you got a cool project, we want to hear about it. If you suck blood and live that nightlife, we also want to hear about that.
Yeah.
For sure, Z's.
Hells
Again,
yeah.
they're trying to pretend they're not vampires. All right, bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Dog, no.
Goodbye. Mwah!